Chapter 6. Toulouse, 8th of March, present day. This still doesn't seem possible. Coming back from the dead is usually my party trick. As I clasp his forearm and half support, half swing him back to his feet, I don't really know how to feel. He's so full of the possibility that his brother might still be alive, he's not thinking about any of the rest of it yet. Isaac, are you sure? I asked gently. Isaac grips the bridge of his nose between his fingers, crease lines radiating spiral-like out from the pinch point as he presses his eyes closed. Paul, you know Kabbalah is all about the power of words and especially names. Mastering the Enochian script, the language of the angels themselves. For me, this entire building is simply one enormous signature saying, Jacob and Nanael was here. I can see the moment Isaac remembers how I said I came across these runes, his excitement fading slightly, and it breaks my heart. That boyish joy slides away, concern deep in his eyes as he massages his knuckles. How did you say you found these, lad? He's worrying at his lip with his top teeth without even realizing it, obviously replaying what I said, hoping he heard it wrong. I've been a prisoner here for the last 3 days, Zach. Good God, I don't know how to say it without hurting him. There was a wizard, not Jack and Nan, a shit one, totally incapable of pulling this off. He tortured me till I managed to kill myself. Then where is this wizard? I can hear the slightly manic tone to Isaac's voice, the way he's looking wildly around as if I've got a shit wizard hidden under the stairs just waiting for the right dramatic moment to bring him out with a flourish. So I tell him. I tell him about us trailing him, the little information we got, the terrible curse he unleashed on himself when he tried to talk. By the time I get to the end, Isaac's shaking his head back and forth. No, he says. Though I'm not sure if he's talking to himself or to me at this point. No, it can't be them. Jack and Nan would never do that. I agree. Trying really hard to keep my voice calm, to not let an edge of pleading penetrate. He needs to work through this all for himself. So who did it? The curse? That could be anyone, but the wards? He looks at the doorway again. It must be them. I can hear the question there. I wonder if he can. He steeples his fingers, presses them to his chin. Could it be forged? Could someone have made it look like an angelic working? No. He fixes Aisha and I with a stare so intense it makes my eyes water. This is definitely the work of a Bene Elohim, even assuming someone could replicate the theoretical work Jack and I did to create these sorts of Enochian runes. You couldn't power them without an angel. Perhaps if someone could enslave Nanael and drain every bit of knowledge from Jacob before destroying him, then they might plausibly have been able to forge such an effort, but, frankly... He releases the fingertip pressure and looks at me plainly. If that were the case, Occam's razor suggests that we'd be facing a malevolent being of such unlimited power that we'd all already be enslaved or dead. Jacob wove this magic, or else something is simply toying with us, and our doom and complete destruction undoubtedly awaits. It's fair to say Isaac isn't being as upbeat as usual. Sadly, I can't disagree with him. Isaac told me what he and Jack had gone through to get Nith and Nan to share souls with them. Runes carved onto themselves, making golems out of their own flesh. Others tried to replicate it, students. No one succeeded, or survived it to make a second attempt. It seems to have been some freak alignment of their own exceptional levels of talent and their unsurpassable academic genius, along with the purity of their intent and souls, I suspect. After the first few deaths, they destroyed their research, determined not to be responsible for any more. The likelihood of anyone else replicating that is infinitely small. Well then, let's go with option 1 as the working assumption, shall we? I shift uneasily under his relentless gaze. With his bookish delight for curios and arcana, the tendency is to associate all the power in the relationship to Nithael. It is only in these rare moments, where his dander is forced to rise, that the weight of his drive and mental strength become plain as one of the chief powers behind the pairing. What can we do? I can study these runic entanglements and patiently work out how to deactivate them without... He pauses, and I can see the mental calculations expanding into multiple digits behind his expression, destroying most of Toulouse to the west of the Garonne. You, he jabs his index at me, can go fetch me some pizza while I do all the grunt work yet again, lad. His attention peels away from me and slaps itself like an aggrieved band-aid onto the enchanted enigma. I sigh in relief at the dismissal, unable to shake the sensation of being pinned butterfly-like by his Victorian lepidopterist glare. I remember that craze well. People who decide the best way to celebrate natural beauty is by driving a fucking pin through its spine are not my idea of a good time. They still give me the creeps. Aisha and I trot over to Pizza Felix by a wren and order a varied selection of vegan pizzas before heading back. I've remained vegetarian as far as possible over the course of my drawn-out lifetime. Sometimes it was the choice between starving or getting my meat on. In those situations, I just accepted it as a necessary sin and avoided eye contact with the relative flocks or herds for a guilty few weeks after. Veganism is a more modern arrival in the West, particularly to the land of dried meats and duck parts that is the southwest of France. But I enjoy flirtations with it whenever I encounter it outside of Europe, and I take advantage of the option when presented. I array 2 cartons where Isaac can reach them, cardboard tops flipped open, as he continues to focus on the etheric fabric with laser-like attention. Aisha and I position ourselves outside the front, and, after a small cantrip to persuade passers-by to pay us no mind, conjure up some comfortable seating by hardening the air. This serves 2 purposes. First, it gives our legs a well-earned break. My muscles are still trying to get over the shock of not actually being dead anymore and are expressing their confusion in no uncertain terms. Second, it protects us from the seriously high chances of catching tetanus from the varied rusted implements secreted throughout the long grass. Could it really be Jacob, Sabi? Aisha amuses herself, stacking various discarded pieces of metal into an impressive Gundam knockoff with her talent. Torn beer can shards form wings, nails forming studding on the armour. The scrap drags itself into the shape of the gigantic mechs, although the rust rather undermines their credentials as fighting space robots. I can't imagine they'd be very aerodynamic. I hum and haw. I'd tell you it was impossible if that wasn't a surefire, guaranteed way of making sure Sod's Law throws super-powered evil Jacob into our lives faster than you can say, "Stop tempting fate, you massive dickhead." The Tin Can Gundam picks up a hubcap as a shield and strikes some suitably manga-style poses with it. Wasn't Jacob the guy who was so nice he made Isaac look like a blue meanie? I nod. He really was. Always looked on the bright side, always tried to find reasons and justifications for the errors or evils of others. He believed most people were just misguided and needed help, a guiding hand, a second chance. Aisha makes the robot pick up a discarded shard of glass and use it to lay waste to the forest of overgrown grass in a series of blistering ninja-like moves. Doesn't really match with making someone choke on their own tongue, then dissolve into a puddle of goo, does it? Not really. But none of us are the people we were centuries ago. Speak for yourself, dickhead. Living for centuries, you learn change is the only constant. That and the instinctive prejudgment of our fellow humans. It is amazing how many people still wear that as a badge of pride rather than as something to be challenged. I enjoy challenging it, preferably with a big stick. Does the idea of Jacob going full-on murderous evil psychopath seem impossible to me? If I'm honest, no. Highly implausible, yes, but hundreds of years of people letting me down and an equal amount of time of me letting other people down, myself most of all, shows me it's not outside the realm of plausibility. I'm certainly no perfect anymore. Do you really not feel you've changed who you are over the years, Laguna? Maybe now's not the best time for these questions, but honestly, I'm feeling more than a touch lost. The possibility that Jacob's still alive is beyond huge. The possibility he's gone evil? It throws everything out of whack. I don't know how I'll get Isaac through it if it's true. Hell, I don't even know how it's possible if you're hosting an angel. Then again, they've always been above us, or at least believe themselves to be, as far as I can tell. Perhaps our petty limitations of morals aren't as important to them as I thought. Or perhaps they've changed too, after closing in on a millennium stuck on our plane of existence. Nope. Bored with making her tin pot robot run a training gauntlet, Aisha turns her talent to constructing a secondary Gundam ready to battle. Multitasking show-off. Not even... I don't want to say it, but I don't need to either. Aisha knows what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about. No, people have always been shit. First life, saved my town, got condemned as a demonic harlot for it. You don't save people because they're good. That'll only ever lead to disappointment. She looks up at me sharply, that intense, burning gaze fixing on me. Save people because you're good, even if you're a twat too. Her eyes flick back down to the temporary battle arena she's made in front of her. The original robot swings his glass shard sword in an elegant sweeping arc, decapitating the newcomer, who collapses into discarded rubble. Aisha wants me to look at that, the battlefield destruction she's wrought. She doesn't want me to look at her own clenched jaw muscles. I don't miss it, though. Her own unpleasant history involving a certain group of goose-stepping shitbags is coming to the fore. I tried to distract her. Did you know that was the only time I'm aware of that Isaac and Nithiel fell out? During the Second World War? She looks over at me surprised, her robot gladiators forgotten. You never told me? Yeah, Isaac wanted to go on the offensive, especially once word reached us about Austerlitz and the other camps. Nithiel refused. Even in a situation like that, he was only prepared to go on the defensive. Isaac's a power, capital P, in his own right. But like I said, theory is where his talent lies. Without Nithiel on board, he knew he couldn't go storming in and win the war, not against all the arrayed occult forces on the Axis side, and Nith... Hold on, Aish. Nith wouldn't even kill a bunch of fucking genocidal wankers, even as they swept across Europe. So, if Nithiel wouldn't go all out on fucking up the Nazis, she says. I nod again. Then I can't really see Nanael getting on board with melting shit wizards, can you? As I finish speaking, a hum builds like the swell of a colony of bees swarming from a gale-fallen hive. An accompanying pressure prickles across my senses, like the promise of rains capable of washing away the world. Then the hum breaks, and a relieved, calm silence pours through after it, the equivalent of fresh breezes heralding cooler nights after a heat wave. Aisha and I exchange glances, then hurry back into the house.